Are you really chasing success or just trying to prove you're not a failure? Take a moment. Let that question just hang in the air for a second. We live in a world where success has become a performance, a spectacle. It's no longer something you quietly build through years of purpose and self respect. No. Now, it's something you broadcast, something you wrap in filters, taglines, and humble brags. And if you're not careful, it will swallow you whole. Look around you. Every single scroll on your social media feed tells you the same story. The 25-year-old millionaire, the digital nomad sipping cocktails in Bali, the productivity guru who wakes up at 40 a.m., journals, meditates, takes a cold plunge, and somehow runs 3 businesses by lunchtime. Success today looks like private jets, Rolex watches, $10,000 masterminds, and a TikTok-ready lifestyle. Everyone's crushing it. Everyone's living their dream. Everyone's got a side hustle and a 6-figure income stream, or so it seems. But here's the question. If so many people are winning, why does it feel like we are all losing? Why are burnout, anxiety, and depression at an all-time high? Why are people in their 30s, 40s, and 50s, people who've built careers, raised families, checked all the boxes, quietly battling exhaustion, emptiness, and a haunting sense that none of this is enough? In 2023, a major US study found that nearly half of high-income earners, people making over $100,000 a year, still said their lives lacked meaning. Think about that. They did everything right. They worked, they climbed, they reached the top of the mountain and found nothing there. Because here's the brutal truth. Success, as society defines it, has become a moving target. You hit one goal and it shifts. You buy the car, now you need the house. You hit 6 figures, now you need 7. You get the body, now you need the brand. It never ends. It's like pouring water into a cup with a hole in the bottom. No matter how much you pour, it's never full. And that is by design. Modern success is not built to satisfy you. It's built to sell to you. It keeps you running, performing, comparing. It turns your life into a scoreboard. And if you're not playing to win, you're playing to not lose. That's not freedom. That is a prison in disguise. And the worst part, most people don't even realize they're trapped. They think they're grinding for their families, chasing dreams, building a legacy. But deep down, what they're really chasing is approval, validation. That brief high that comes when someone sees you and says, "You made it." That high wears off fast, and like any drug, you'll need a bigger hit next time. You know it. You've felt it. That ache in your gut when someone else seems to have more. That shame when you feel like you're not measuring up. That voice in your head that says you should be further by now. That's not inspiration. That's insecurity disguised as ambition. So let's stop pretending. Let's stop pretending that more success will finally make you feel enough, that more followers, more dollars, more clout will silence the doubt. It won't. Because the more you chase success to prove your worth, the more you disconnect from what actually makes you worthy. So again, I ask you, are you really chasing success or just running from the fear of being a failure? Because right after this, we're going to expose how society redefines success and why. If you don't reclaim that definition for yourself, you could spend your entire life trying to win a game you were never meant to play. Somewhere along the way, we stopped defining success by who we are and started defining it by what we have. It's a subtle shift, but it changes everything. Success used to mean living in alignment with your values, being a person of integrity, building something meaningful, even if no one clapped for it. But that's not the world we live in anymore. Today, success means having more than the next person. More money, more recognition, more influence. It's no longer about becoming the man or the person you respect. It's about becoming the image others will admire. We chase validation, not because it feeds our soul, but because we've been trained to believe it proves our worth. Think about the kind of success that gets celebrated now. It's not the teacher who changes lives. It's the influencer who builds a brand. It's not the father who's present and steady. It's the entrepreneur with the Lamborghini and the passive income funnel. The message is clear. If you're not being noticed, if you're not collecting attention, you're losing. This shift didn't happen by accident. The psychologist and philosopher Erich Fromm warned us about this decades ago. He said, "We've moved from a culture of being to a culture of having. We no longer ask, who am I? We ask, what do I own? What do I earn? What does my lifestyle say about me? And it's in that shift from being to having that we begin to lose ourselves. When having becomes the goal, then owning more becomes the measure of a good life. You don't buy a $10,000 watch to tell time. You buy it to tell the world, I'm winning. You don't drive that car because it gets you from A to B. You drive it because of what it says when you pull up in front of the restaurant. The object isn't just an object anymore. It becomes a symbol of value, a prop in the performance of success. And the more you play that game, the more your identity gets entangled in things you can lose. Your sense of self becomes fragile, dependent on external symbols, your title, your bank account, your appearance, your follower count. Take one of them away, and suddenly you feel like less of a person. That's not success, that's dependency. What makes this even more dangerous is that most people never stop to question it. We grow up in a system that teaches us what to chase, and we mistake that conditioning for personal ambition. You think you want the big house, the brand name, the admiration. But is that truly your desire or just the echo of society whispering in your ear? Here's the hard truth. If your idea of success requires someone else to approve of it, you don't own it. They do. And if you don't reclaim your definition of success, you'll keep trying to impress a crowd that doesn't even know who you are and wouldn't care if you disappeared tomorrow. This is the deception. Success isn't about becoming more of who you are. It's become a race to outperform everyone else. And the irony is, the more you try to stand out, the more you become like everyone else, running the same tired race. So if you're tired, if you're feeling empty, if you're quietly asking yourself, why doesn't this feel like enough? You're not broken, you're just waking up. Because deep down, a part of you still remembers success isn't something you prove, it's something you live. There's a hidden cost to chasing success the way we've been taught. And it's not just burnout, stress, or sleepless nights. It's something deeper, something harder to name. The cost is your sense of self. Because when you start using success to prove your worth, it stops being a reward and becomes a burden. You can't pause. You can't breathe. You're always performing. Every milestone just raises the bar. You run faster, work harder, achieve more. Not out of inspiration, but out of fear. Fear that if you stop, even for a moment, the illusion will crack and people will see who you really are. Carl Jung called this the persona, the mask we wear to survive in society. It's not who we are, it's who we think we need to be to gain approval, to fit in, to be seen. And the more success you build on top of that mask, the more disconnected you become from your true self. You might look like you're thriving, you've got the title, the car, the followers, but deep down, you know it's not real. It's not coming from your core. It's not built on authenticity. It's built on performance. And because of that, it never feels like enough. You reach a goal and the feeling fades. So you set a bigger one. You hit that and you feel the same emptiness creeping back in. So you double down. You think, maybe I need more money. Maybe I need to reinvent myself. Maybe I just haven't pushed hard enough. But the problem isn't the size of your goal. It's the hole it's trying to fill. And that hole can't be filled by achievements. Because the more you rely on success to validate your identity, the more fragile your identity becomes. Your self-worth starts hanging on outcomes. Your confidence gets tied to applause. Your peace depends on metrics you can't control. It's like pouring water into a cup with a hole in the bottom. No matter how much you pour, it's never full. And the more it leaks, the more desperate you become to refill it. You work harder, you sacrifice more, you silence the parts of yourself that don't fit the image. You ignore the whisper inside that says, this isn't me. But that voice, that's the real you. The part of you that's tired of pretending, the part that doesn't care about being impressive, only about being whole. The part that remembers what it felt like to be fully alive before success became a mask you couldn't take off. That's the invisible weight most people carry. It's not the pressure to win. It's the fear of being seen without the armor, of being ordinary, flawed, human. But that's where freedom begins. Because the goal isn't to be perfect. The goal isn't to win every game. The goal is to be real and build a life that doesn't collapse when the performance ends. So ask yourself, is the version of success you're chasing actually yours? Or is it just the most acceptable mask you could find? The world doesn't need more perfectly polished success stories. It needs more people willing to take the mask off and live from a place of truth, not fear. Recognition, it sounds harmless, just a little validation, a little praise. But in today's world, it's become a drug, and most of us are hooked without even realizing it. We scroll through highlight reels, we post, we wait, a like, a comment, a share. It hits just for a second. We feel seen, valued, like we matter, and then it fades. So we chase the next hit. We sharpen the image, tweak the caption, tell the story in just the right way, not for ourselves, but for the gaze of others. Modern society has quietly rewired us. It's shifted our focus outward. Success is no longer something you feel. It's something others must confirm. It doesn't count unless it's visible, measurable, and praised. It's not about how deeply you live, but how well it performs on a screen. And here's the trap. The more you rely on others to reflect your worth back to you, the less you trust your own reflection. You stop asking, do I feel proud? And start asking, do they think I'm impressive? You stop building a life that feels right and start curating a life that looks right. The worst part, it never ends. Because no matter how much recognition you get, it's never enough. There's always someone with more, a bigger platform, a louder cheer, a shinier trophy. And so you hustle harder, not because you're inspired, but because you're afraid to fall behind. Schopenhauer once wrote that human beings are driven by a blind will, a force that pulls us endlessly toward what we don't have while making us forget what we do. We want success, and once we get it, we want more. We want approval, and once we taste it, we crave the next dose. It's a loop, a treadmill. And the moment you step on, it starts speeding up. That blind will doesn't care about your peace. It doesn't care about your purpose. It only wants movement, more, next again. And if you're not careful, it will run your entire life. Recognition becomes the god. Not fulfillment, not meaning, just applause. You start performing for the crowd, dimming the parts of yourself that don't get cheers, exaggerating the ones that do. You stop living from the inside out and start living from the outside in. And the scariest thing? Most of us don't even know we're doing it. We think we're chasing goals. In truth, we're chasing permission. Permission to feel worthy, to feel seen, to feel like we finally made it. But here's the question. Made it to what? If your success only exists in someone else's eyes, is it really yours? Recognition isn't evil. We all want to be seen. But when being seen becomes the only thing that makes you feel real, you've lost touch with who you actually are. The moment your worth depends on applause, you've handed your life over to strangers. So maybe it's time to stop asking how many people approve and start asking whether you do. We've been taught to think of success as a mountain, a climb, a summit. You hustle, you grind, you sacrifice, and one day, if you're lucky, you reach the top. But maybe we've had it all wrong. What if real success isn't a peak? What if it's a pause? Not the point where you have the most, but the point where you stop needing more. Not where you prove something, but where you finally don't need to prove anything at all. That's the shift. Success isn't about climbing higher. It's about knowing when to stop climbing. It's the quiet confidence of someone who no longer needs the world to clap for them, who can sit in a room alone, unfiltered, and still feel whole. It's not loud. It's not flashy. It doesn't need an audience. Because real success is not what others see. It's what you see when you look in the mirror. Do you respect the person staring back? Do you know them? Do you trust them? That's rare in today's world. We're so busy being what others want us to be, we forget who we are. We put on masks. We build personas. We become characters in our own story, polished, impressive, hollow. Carl Jung called this the persona, the version of ourselves we present to the world. But behind it always is the shadow, the parts of us we hide, deny, or reject. And here's the paradox. The more you ignore your shadow, the more it controls you. The more you avoid facing yourself, the more lost you feel, even in your brightest moments. True success comes not from escaping that shadow, but from turning toward it, owning it, integrating it. When you stop running from the parts of you that feel unworthy and start accepting them, you become whole. And that's when the chase ends. Let me give you an example. There's a man who spent years building a career that impressed everyone. Top school, high salary, perfect resume. But every night he came home feeling empty. He couldn't explain it. He had everything he was supposed to want, but none of it felt like his. One day he left, not in some dramatic blaze, but in a quiet, intentional step away. He started painting again, something he hadn't done since college. No one clapped, no one cared. But for the first time in years, he did. That man didn't give up. He woke up. He stopped chasing the version of success the world sold him and started listening to the version that spoke from within. That's freedom. When success is no longer about achievement, but alignment, not about being impressive, but being authentic. It's about knowing your value, even when no one's watching. It's about feeling enough, not because someone said so, but because you finally believe it yourself. And that kind of success, it doesn't come with a trophy, it comes with peace. So maybe the question isn't, how do I win more? Maybe it's, what can I finally let go of? Maybe real success isn't the top of the mountain. Maybe it's the moment you stop climbing and start coming home to yourself. So let me ask you something. When you wake up every morning and chase what you call success, are you doing it for you or because deep down you're afraid of what you'd be without it? Are you building a life you truly believe in or just trying to outrun the fear of being seen as a failure? Most people never pause long enough to ask that. The treadmill moves too fast. Slowing down feels like weakness. And in a world obsessed with performance, the worst thing you can do is stop performing. But if you always need success to feel valuable, what does that really mean? It means somewhere deep inside, you don't believe you're valuable without it. If you constantly need the next milestone, the next win, the next applause just to feel okay, then what you're chasing isn't purpose, it's relief. Relief from that quiet fear whispering, without success, I am nothing. That's not drive. That's fear dressed up as ambition. That's a prison with golden walls. And it's dangerous because as long as your sense of worth is tied to what you achieve, you'll never feel safe unless you're achieving. You'll never rest unless you're ahead. And you'll never feel free because even in victory, you're still trapped. Trapped in a game where the rules keep changing, the goalposts keep moving, and the scoreboard never stops blinking. Trapped in a life that looks impressive on the outside but feels hollow on the inside. The world won't help you see this. In fact, it'll encourage the opposite. It will keep handing you new goals to chase, new people to impress, new masks to wear. But you can step away from that. You can reclaim your story. You can remember that real success isn't about winning. It's about arriving in your life fully present without needing to perform. It's about knowing who you are when no one's watching and liking that person, trusting that person, standing with that person, even when the world turns away. Carl Jung said that true freedom comes when we face our shadow, when we stop hiding the parts of ourselves we were taught to reject. That's where real wholeness begins, not when you've made it, but when you no longer need to. Not when you finally get what you want, but when you finally understand you were never lacking to begin with. So, here's the real question. Are you chasing success for yourself or just trying to escape the shame of being seen as a failure? Be honest, because if you need success to prove you're worthy, then maybe you've never really believed you were worthy at all. And if that stings, it's okay. Let it. Sometimes the truth hurts before it sets you free. But that freedom is waiting, not in the next trophy, not in the next post. It's in you, right now, waiting to be remembered. So don't scroll past this. Sit with it. Let it work on you. And if it speaks to something true, live like it. You don't have to keep running. You already matter. Now, act like it.